Bien, bienvenidos nuevamente. Espero que haya estado rico y reponedor el café con esta helada mañana. Quiero dar un aviso importante. Va a haber al final de esta jornada un espacio de debate para quienes tengan consultas. Va a ser el momento. La Organización Mundial de la Salud, Organización Mundial de la Propiedad Intelectual, OMPI, nada que ver de la salud, nació en 1800, o las últimas décadas del siglo XIX. Desarrolla una labor a nivel mundial conjunta con los Estados miembros de ella, también en conjunto con organizaciones públicas y privadas. Todo esto con el fin de ayudar al desarrollo y la promoción del conocimiento de los derechos intelectuales, de los derechos de autor y la protección de ellos. Vamos a escuchar ahora la intervención de Sofía Lobos, secretaria ejecutiva del Comité Interministerial de Fomento de la Economía Creativa, con su exposición estratégica de Estrategia de Fomento a la Economía Creativa.
Hola, muy buenos días. Me toca un tremendo desafío, que es el hablarles un poco de propiedad intelectual y la estrategia de fomento a la economía creativa que venimos desarrollando hace prácticamente 2 años. Entonces, bueno, ¿quién soy yo? Amante de la música. Gran parte de por qué postulé al cargo que tengo actualmente es porque amo el arte, la música. Desde muy chica fui a conciertos. A los 14 años fue mi primer concierto en vivo. También grabé en cassette. Hice listas en cassette. Y un espacio importante, hay poquitos discos, esta es mi casa, es el formato en disco digital, o sea, el disco. ¿Por qué? Principalmente porque, bueno, hay algún tema con cómo suena que me gusta mucho y que tal vez siento que el digital puede que no vaya en la misma línea. Sin embargo, uno no puede estar acarreando el disco por todas partes y por lo mismo es que escucho mucha música digital en streaming. Entonces, en el fondo, en esta oportunidad les voy a contar brevemente cómo ha ido evolucionando la industria y les voy a dar algunos ejemplos porque me parece que ilustran bastante bien el por qué es necesario el tener una estrategia de desarrollo de la economía, de fomento a la economía creativa. Bueno, de acuerdo a los datos de la Federación Internacional de Industria Fonográfica, en el último reporte del 2018, podemos ver cómo ha ido evolucionando las ventas globales de la industria y también el efecto dramático que tuvo las ventas online en la facturación de este sector. Cuando en el 99 teníamos 25 billones de dólares en venta, esto cambió dramáticamente al 2014, que fue el año más bajo, llegó a 14,2, eso significó una caída prácticamente del 40% de las ventas. ¿Y eso qué significó a nivel local? Es que desde inicios del 2000 hubo una gran, no sé si huida decirlo, suena tan políticamente correcto, pero en el fondo sí, muchas de las majors que estaban localizadas en Chile no se fueron. Entonces, ¿por qué ese dato es bastante relevante y hago el link con el año 2014? Es porque ese año, de acuerdo a los datos del Instituto Nacional de Estadística en el Anuario de Cultura y Tiempo Libre, dan cuenta de que el 98% de los discos editados en Chile son por sellos independientes. Y de alguna forma estamos hablando de 1000 discos, más de 1000 discos, y lo que habla de un sector que es bastante vibrante, bastante creativo, que puede generar mucho impacto, pero también que requiere de ciertas condiciones que se vayan dando de forma de poder lograr lo que todos queremos, en el fondo, que exista sostenibilidad y poder vivir de lo que hacemos. Otro punto relevante que me gustaría hacer énfasis es en cómo ha ido variando la participación de los distintos tipos de ingresos que tiene la industria de la música. Si pueden ver, partimos del 99 con un 100% en ventas físicas. Al año 2017 tenemos que la principal participación es a través de streaming, con un 38%. Puse ese 2%, ese 2% que está ahí, no es inocuo, después lo vamos a ir entendiendo. Tampoco sabía que era ingresos de sincronización, pero en el fondo se trata de todos los derechos, de todos los ingresos que uno genera a través de cuando la música se transforma en un activo que es utilizado en otras industrias, por ejemplo en la del videojuego. Entonces, hay un estudio que hizo Chile Creativo que se llama Brechas de acceso al financiamiento privado en las industrias creativas en Chile, lo editó el año pasado. Y hace un bastante buen diagnóstico de los requerimientos que tiene la industria en torno a cómo, justamente decía Dimitri, el valorizar lo que es el activo intangible y de alguna forma generar capacidades en torno al sector de forma de aprovechar la propiedad intelectual y el derecho de autor como un activo que pueda ser comercializable y que de alguna forma genere fuentes de financiamiento que permitan la sostenibilidad del sector. Y eso significa, en el fondo, ir transitando desde un sector que está principalmente enfocado en lo que es la creatividad hacia uno que tenga más conciencia de la necesidad de contar con modelos que sean ad hoc a la realidad sectorial y justamente también el tener un valor del mismo. Entonces, para iluminar un poco respecto a cómo ha sido la transformación de la industria, voy a poner el caso de Portal Disc. Ahí está Sebastián Milo, así que es el director, CEO, creador. En el fondo me gustaría partir con cómo se han ido diversificando las fuentes de financiamiento y me parece que este es un caso que da cuenta justamente del punto que les presentaba en la slide casi anterior, que era con respecto a cómo ha ido variando las fuentes de financiamiento de la industria. Portal Disc partió el 2009 como con 50 empresas, 50 sellos discográficos más o menos, y siendo el principal portal de comercialización online de música chilena. Actualmente, como pueden ver, tiene más de 10.000 discos disponibles. Y en el fondo, ¿por qué me gustaría hacer énfasis en este dato? Es porque mientras preparaba esta presentación, vi el mismo pic que el año 2014. Revisando, dije, ya, a Sebastián le iba bastante bien hasta el 2014, había aumentado desde 16.000 descargas a 25.000, pero ¿qué pasó? Cayó a la mitad el año 2013, o sea 2016. Entonces lo llamé, porque en el fondo había una intuición que me estaba faltando acá en descarga. Y bueno, este es el informe anual del Instituto Nacional de Estadística del año pasado. ¿Qué es lo que había pasado? Es que esta cifra registra solamente las descargas pagadas, no las gratuitas. y de alguna forma también ilustra justamente lo que decía Dimitri de la necesidad de generar estadísticas que estén asociadas al real valor de lo que es la industria, y porque si no, al ver este tipo de gráficos podemos tener señales algo erradas respecto a lo que es el real valor de la industria. Otro punto, bueno, y aquí está el punto de descargas gratuitas, que si bien no es la principal fuente de financiamiento de Portal Disc, igual es un punto. ¿Qué más realiza? Genera servicios para sellos artistas, asesoría en términos de cómo lograr acceso a nivel internacional, y también asesorías en giras de las empresas o de los sellos y de los artistas. Y otro punto que me parece muy importante tocar es que, bueno, no quiero llenar de flores a Sebastián, pero en el fondo se pone a través, generó junto a IMI Chile, que es la Asociación de Músicos Independientes, puso a disposición toda la información de la cartelera disponible de conciertos. Y recién me estaba contando que hay más de 300 conciertos semanales de los cuales no teníamos información, y por lo mismo resulta relevante tenerlos en una plataforma. Y otro de los puntos muy relevantes es que de alguna forma viene de lo que es pone a disposición información que viene de la asociación, y habla también de la necesidad de ir generando un ethos colectivo que permita ir robusteciendo a la industria. Bueno, videojuegos. ¿Por qué, si estamos en un seminario de cómo vivir de la música, voy a hablar un poquito brevemente de videojuegos? Acá me acompaña Felipe Budnik de A1 Games. Y en el fondo a Felipe lo conocí el 2016 a través de cuando fuimos en la delegación al MICSUR en Bogotá, el Mercado de Industrias Culturales del Sur, y al CEO socio en el MICA, Mercado de Industrias Culturales de Argentina, regional, que se hizo hace un mes en Bariloche. ¿Por qué me gusta y me interesa hablar un poco de ellos? Principalmente porque, bueno, cuando los conocí me transmitieron como una pasión por prácticamente querer comerse el mundo. Y yo creo que eventualmente lo pueden hacer. En septiembre veremos si sí o si no, porque en septiembre se lanza a nivel mundial el juego de pelea Omen of Sorrow. El primer juego sudamericano de videojuego de pelea. Y para que se hagan una idea más o menos de lo que estamos hablando, en 10 años hubo 3 nuevas franquicias en videojuegos de pelea. Por lo tanto, Omen of Sorrow sería el cuarto. Y otro de los puntos que es súper interesante acá es que en el fondo se han creado solamente 30 licencias y hay 7 empresas a nivel mundial que producen este tipo de videojuegos. ¿Y por qué les hago el paralelo de que se querían comer el mundo? Porque en el fondo soñaron desde el 2015 en sus inicios en hacer un videojuego que fuera 100% chileno. Y eso significa, en el fondo, que todo lo que se ha facturado, o sea, se ha manufacturado, desde las gráficas, la música, el arte, el guión, todo lo que es la economía creativa ha estado inmersa en Chile. Salvo, por supuesto, la gente, los personajes que hablan, porque probablemente a un inglés, como es un juego de carácter internacional, no le va a gustar un acento chileno hablando en inglés, sino que un acento más neutral. ¿Y cuál es la relación que tiene con la música? el año pasado se lanzó en México esta es la tercera película más vista en México, Hazlo como hombre, de Nicolás López, coproducción chileno-mexicana. Y en el fondo la música, dentro de la película están jugando los protagonistas videojuegos. Y adivinen qué videojuego estaban viendo. Omen of Sorrow. Y también qué otra cosa es interesante es que a través de este videojuego, Francisco Cerda, que me gustaría también ponerle nombre y apellido porque es el creador y además es quien ha ganado bastantes premios, sacó el segundo lugar en el International Festival Game a nivel mundial, obtuvo el equivalente en ingresos por sincronización al 10% de sus derechos, ingresos de sincronización equivalen al 10% de lo que le pagó Felipe por la obra. Entonces, y eso que el juego todavía no ha salido. Entonces, en el fondo, acá estamos viendo una tremenda oportunidad y por eso es que les hago el salto a lo que fue aquel 2% del inicio que se veía bastante reducido. Y acá me gustaría hacer el salto con respecto a la importancia que tiene el arte y la cultura. Y en el fondo, ¿por qué el ministerio de alguna forma se involucra en una estrategia de desarrollo económico del sector creativo? En las siguientes 3 láminas les voy a mostrar cómo a través del arte y el videojuego logra mostrar parte de lo que es nuestra identidad. Para quienes no la reconozcan, acá tenemos a la Esmeralda, acá tenemos Moais, incorporados ahí se ven tenue. Si la foto hubiese sido más grande se hubiese visto mejor. Y también tenemos las Torres del Paine. Incluso con Felipe en alguna vez comentamos que tal vez podría tener un Selknam en alguna derivada del juego. Porque ese otro de los ejemplos que les quería dar de los ingresos de sincronización es que de alguna forma también muestran que hay una oportunidad en ir diversificando de nuevo las fuentes de financiamiento asociándose a otro tipo de industria. Felipe vivió el 2017, más o menos, gracias a la composición que tiene online, porque se están vendiendo parte de sus composiciones. Después le pueden preguntar con mayor detalle, puede que se me están yendo millones de cosas. Pero en el fondo, a través de una plataforma online están las licencias y uno puede descargarlas pero pagando por ellas. Y en el fondo los creadores de videojuegos por lo general requieren música original. ¿Por qué? Porque en el fondo, y ayer lo comentábamos, si es que en un videojuego tenemos una canción de Metallica, por mucho que hayamos pagado por el derecho de tener la canción de Metallica, eventualmente el abogado en el último paso, cuando ya el juego está a punto de salir, diga, no se puede. Y eso ralentiza el lanzamiento del juego y eso tiene un impacto directo en su éxito en el futuro. Entonces ahora me gustaría también ir al punto de lo que es el tema de la diversidad, de lo que es el énfasis. Cuando en la presentación de Dimitri hablábamos de temas de carácter económico, de temas de carácter social, pero también el tema que a mí más me interpela y más me parece relevante a la hora de hablar de economía creativa, que tiene que ver con la capacidad de interpelarte, de crear nuevas realidades. ¿Por qué puse esta foto? Ya, probablemente muchos han visto videos analizando el video de Gambino. Probablemente como el video muestra cómo ha evolucionado la sociedad norteamericana, etc. Pero uno de los puntos que a mí me pareció muy interesante es que, bueno, acá borré quién era, pero es un amigo que trabaja en visualizaciones, hace proyecciones en fachadas. Ay, se me olvidó el nombre. ¿Planing? No. ¿Sí? Mapping. Ya, hace mapping y le va bastante bien con eso. Y puso el punto que a mí también me parece muy importante, que es el ser, ¿qué es América y qué son los Estados Unidos? ¿Y por qué les hago el punto? Porque esta fue la intervención que hizo el 87 Alfredo Yar en Times Square. Y de alguna forma también hizo el punto incluso cuando no existían las plataformas de internet respecto a qué es lo que es ser sudamericano. Y que de alguna forma tenemos una identidad que nos distingue. Y que de alguna forma tenemos que resguardar en nuestra diversidad cultural. Entonces acá hago el link de la diversidad cultural con uno de los datos de Portal Disc que también, de nuevo, hay muy poca información. Esto se basa en los conciertos que pudo catastrar, que probablemente pueden que incluso hayan sido más. Pero en el fondo parte de los puntos que me parece relevantes que hubo el año 2016 más de 1.400 conciertos de artistas chilenos en el extranjero. Y de ellos el 40% fueron sudamericanos, lo cual nuevamente habla del tema de cómo podemos generar un relato a nivel sudamericano y la necesidad de ir generando estas conexiones como continente, porque en el fondo somos 500 millones de habitantes que hablamos el mismo idioma, que tenemos una cultura similar y que ya, gracias a Internet, no estamos tan aislados geográficamente como era hace 15 años atrás con la cordillera y el mar y en el fondo como eso significaba una barrera para el intercambio entre nuestros países. Estoy terminando, más o menos. Otro de los puntos que me parece súper relevante, después podemos ver más en profundidad la presentación, es el impacto que tiene la música en el territorio. Obviamente este estudio no está disponible en la web, pero en algún minuto llegué a la noticia y por eso lo puse, que es que el año 2014, si no estoy mal, el Lollapalooza generó 33 millones de dólares en ingresos, no solo directos e indirectos en el país. Porque eso me parece importante, porque de alguna forma también habla de la necesidad de generar una diversificación de fuentes de financiamiento que vayan más allá del sector público. Porque el mismo año, entre los 3 fondos de cultura, música, audiovisual y libros, solamente alcanzamos los 26 millones de dólares. Por lo tanto, si ustedes ven, evidentemente hay un exceso de demanda por fuentes de financiamiento estatales y también hay un potencial de la industria que tiene que ver más con la asociación con el sector privado. Tradicional, creativo, vamos, lo que sea. Entonces, acá estudios recientes, lo dijo Dimiter, hablan de la necesidad de que para el fomento del sector se necesita robustecer el ecosistema y eso significa integrar a actores que tal vez no sean tan naturalmente asociados al sector artístico y cultural. Y aquí me gustaría hacer énfasis a la línea de abajo. Porque cuando esto partió probablemente haya sido muy desorganizado. Así que ahora va mis agradecimientos a todos los equipos involucrados en la organización de este seminario, tanto la Secretaría de la Música, el equipo de Economía Creativa, la SOFOFA que se puso con el lugar, la DDI, la SCD, el Comité de Exportación de Servicios, que de hecho estaba por aquí Hacienda y se fue, pero en el fondo tiene que ver con cómo robustecer y que nos estamos tomando bastante en serio este tema. ProChile, Direcon, y bueno, y justo ayer la ACTI Cooperativa, que están logrando que este seminario se esté transmitiendo en vivo a través de Cooperativa. Entonces ahí, bueno, después de todo este paneo llego a la estrategia, que al final va a tomar solamente 3 minutos porque es lo que me queda. En el fondo, ¿cuál es la misión? Esta es una estrategia que partió el año 2016 con el diseño. El año pasado lanzamos el Plan Nacional de Fomento a la Economía Creativa, en el cual participan 7 ministerios, 19 instituciones. Nos reunimos bastante periódicamente para lograr justamente esta coordinación, que a veces es muy difícil, que significa muchas renuncias, muchas veces de intereses, de egos, etcétera, pero en el fondo lo que busca es hacer de la economía creativa un motor de desarrollo social, cultural y económico de nuestro país. Y se ancla en 3 lineamientos estratégicos. Uno de ellos tiene que ver con fomento al desarrollo sostenible, el lograr instrumentos tanto públicos y privados de fuentes de financiamiento que permitan la sostenibilidad del sector. La profesionalización y asociatividad, en el fondo, en la medida en que existan más sectores asociados y representados, tanto gremialmente, cooperativamente, no sé, llámenlo como quieran. En el fondo, los intereses son canalizados de mejor forma al sector público, y al final lo que uno como hacedor de política pública busca es tener una representatividad real de los intereses y saber si son particulares o colectivos. Y conocimiento sobre la economía creativa. El año pasado lanzamos el estudio del 2,2 del PIB, que de alguna forma nos ha servido bastante para darle continuidad a la estrategia y seguir impulsando lo que es el sector, pero ciertamente hay muy poca información y eso es parte de lo que tenemos que ir desarrollando. Algunos ejemplos muy breves de qué cosas hemos ido desarrollando. Hace 2 años empezamos una estrategia de generar un manual de exportación de servicios creativos. Está disponible en la página web del Ministerio y en el de la Cámara de Comercio de Santiago, porque lo hizo Joaquín Piña, que yo creo que ya se fue, pero puede que lo conozcan, y aborda música, editorial, audiovisual, artes escénicas, arquitectura y diseño. ¿Y por qué les pongo ese caso? Es porque gracias a ese manual, este año CENSE va a implementar en 9 regiones cursos de gestión cultural y de exportación de servicios creativos. Por lo tanto, la generación de contenido contribuye a justamente lo que es la política de profesionalización, que no siempre debería estar a cargo del Ministerio de las Culturas, sino que probablemente el Ministerio del Trabajo. Acá les voy a hablar, para ir termino 1 minuto, con una de las estrategias que hemos ido desarrollando también partimos del 2016, la Secretaría se creó en octubre del 2015 en el Ministerio, por lo mismo es que es bastante, todo parte del 2016 para nosotros. Y en el fondo esta estrategia partió con la organización de la delegación del MICSUR, que fue en Bogotá. Y el 2017 tomamos el compromiso de desarrollar un mercado de economía creativa de carácter sudamericano el año 2020. ¿Y qué es lo que pasó? El año pasado nos dimos cuenta que no sabíamos nada de generar mercados de carácter intersectorial. No sabíamos nada nosotros como ministerio, no sabíamos nada, no existían mercados de esta naturaleza. Y cuando uno toma un compromiso de mediano plazo, eso significa ir estructurando y generando capacidades que permitan aprovechar lo que va a hacer que vengan 500 agentes aproximadamente de todo Sudamérica. Por lo mismo es que creamos el mercado Check, Chile Economía Creativa, en conjunto con la Cámara de Comercio de Santiago. Es el único mercado que tiene una vinculación explícita con el sector privado tradicional. Y de alguna forma esa es una característica única a nivel sudamericano, que si bien tiene unas complejidades enormes, porque los lenguajes son distintos, la forma de trabajar son distintas, todo es distinto, esperamos que en algún minuto esto signifique que el sector privado más de carácter tradicional vea esto como un sector efectivamente con potencial de desarrollo. Y también organizamos la delegación que participó en el MICA, que es el Mercado de Industrias Culturales de Argentina. ¿Por qué les hago el punto acá con el MICA? Es que firmamos un convenio, o sea, el Ministerio, no nosotros, por supuesto, con el Ministerio de Cultura de Argentina para facilitar el intercambio, tanto comercial como de experiencias artísticas, creativas y de todo, con Argentina. Y eso ha significado que a partir de este año, incluso Argentina está invitando a gestores y a gestores chilenos para que participen en sus micas regionales. Y así es como conocí al Max hace 2 meses o un mes en Bariloche. ¿Qué se nos viene? Bueno, este también es un punto relevante. Esta estrategia es parte del Comité de Exportación de Servicios que lidera el Ministerio de Hacienda y que está financiado a través de un crédito del BID. Por lo tanto, tiene un horizonte a 4 años que va a permitir idealmente darle cierta robustez y que podamos lograr dar un trabajo serio de fomento al sector. Ya, vamos a ir a MIC Brasil en noviembre. Ya fue la convocatoria a la delegación el año pasado, así que no vamos a poder participar los que están acá, pero sí van a poder ir al mercado check, que es que actualmente y hasta el 10 de julio están disponibles las postulaciones. El 2019 vamos a replicar el check y el 2020 esperamos que sea la gran oportunidad de generar todo, de dar cuenta, no solamente de generarlo, de dar cuenta todo el potencial que tenemos y toda la creatividad y toda nuestra identidad a nivel sudamericano. Así que eso, muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Sofía. Hemos disfrutado mucho tu presentación. Llamamos ahora adelante al señor David Stubbs, director gerente Friars Management Limited, Agencia Internacional de Artistas, y Alice Burry del Reino Unido, con su presentación Fuentes de ingresos provenientes del derecho de autor y los derechos conexos para los autores y los artistas.
This is just testing. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. we'll get started. Yes. Right. Well, that was Senor Coconut, and I'm sure you knew that. But he's a complete cult figure in Britain, in the United Kingdom. And at parties, we always play Senor Coconut and his versions of Kraftwerk tunes. So I just tried that just to make sure the audio was working. But thank you very much for coming. I know this is going out live on the radio, so I just want to say there are some spare seats here, some empty seats here. So if you're listening to this on the radio, please come down to Sofofa Conference Centre and join in for the next 2 days. And anybody in the room, please text all your friends to come down, because we want every seat full, right? By this afternoon at 2 o'clock, I want every single seat full. So please help me with that. I'm going to be talking for the next hour about all the income streams in the music industry and how to get on the end of all of them, which is going to be a big sort of overview of the whole workshop, I guess. And then this afternoon, I'll be talking about artist management and how important it is at 2 o'clock. And then I think at 3:30, I'm talking about how to brand Santiago as a music city. And that'll be about how to build the music industry in Santiago specifically. It could be in other cities in Chile, of course, as well. And so that it becomes a destination for music tourism. In other words, you have to sort of build the whole thing. You have to build the venues, you have to build the live events, you have to build the record companies, the rehearsal rooms, and all the other musically related elements of Santiago. And I'll give you some examples of other cities that have done that incredibly successfully, which has boosted the entire economy of the city. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about building a fan base using social networking and how to build an effective website and all that sort of stuff. And we're also tomorrow talking about how to get your music into film, television productions, advertising, and video games. And that's going to be an important one in the afternoon. And then the final one will be about digital marketing, how to sell your music on the internet, how to become a global figure in music rather than just based in Chile, which everybody hopefully will want to do. So let's start texting, and anybody listening to the radio, please come on down. It's free to get in, so not much is free these days. So let's do that. So I'll just now I put this up because I always forget to set the timer, which indeed I have done again. It's amazing. It's something I always forget to do. I've done it now. There you are. Yeah, so I used to be a musician, but I wasn't very good at being a musician. I guess you could say I was a failed musician. But that was the band I was in the 60s. They were called Gearbox. And I don't know if you can spot me in that picture, but I'm down here in the corner here. That's me when I had hair. Really, I wish I had that now. Fantastic. So I'm a failed musician. So when you're a failed musician but you want to stay in the music industry, what do? Well, you become part of the business of the music industry, which is exactly what I did. And I'm concerned with how do you make money from music? How do you give up the day job, and become a full-time musician? That's what we're all about. And I've written this book called How to Make a Living from Music. This is the Spanish version. which you can see here. Actually, it's very interesting because we've done it in 6 languages. I'll show you in a minute. This is the thickest one because in Spanish, I think you use more words to say things than anybody else, I think. And interestingly, the Chinese one was half as thick as this because in Chinese, of course, everything's in the sentences are in those little squares they do. So it's very efficient, Chinese. They save a lot of paper, I guess. So, there we go. That's the English version. That's the French version. Ah, what's that? Yeah, very good. We've got some good people here. Russian. And that's the Chinese. And that's the Spanish version. And I think at the end of tomorrow, we're going to be giving copies of the Spanish version out to everybody who attends. So that's a good reason to come down here for a start. You know, you get a free copy of the book if you're here at the end of the session tomorrow. So that means you have to stay. Right, yes. You can also download the book for free from the WIPO website, which is a fantastic thing to be able to do in all those languages. So if you can't come tomorrow for some very good reason, you can download it for nothing from the WIPO website. We've done lots of these workshops, Dimitar and myself, and these are some of the countries we've done these workshops in. We did one in Peru recently. We've also done Ecuador. We did Turkey last year too. That was very interesting. Amazing city, Istanbul, full of music, just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But those are some of the. I had a friend in Ecuador who translated some of these slides into Spanish. I'm sorry if they're not very good. Are they good? They're okay. You can. Oh, good, good. I have no idea. This is only this session. I'd like all of them to have been in Spanish, but never mind. Anyway, this is in Kenya. I've done 2 in Kenya, which were fantastic, lovely, smiling people. I used to wear a suit in those days. It's very, very formal. This is Jamaica. This is in Jamaica. And we should have a photograph like this tomorrow, you know, with us all standing here with our hands in the air. Well, something like that anyway. Yeah, there you are. That's Buenos Aires. That's like they're well into it in Buenos Aires. We did that again, I think, at the end of 2016. So, music is really, really important to everybody. It has fantastic value in people's lives. But what it doesn't have is monetary value very often. There's a lot of piracy. I know in Chile there's a lot of piracy. A lot of people think music should be free. But it shouldn't be free. It has a value. And if it means a lot to you, you should be able to pay for it. Maybe not too much, but that's the whole point of this workshop, really, to establish that music has a value and should be paid for. And it's also an incredibly effective thing in all sorts of ways. Music can do anything, in my view. If you take Nelson Mandela in South Africa, the next song I'm going to play for you, there's no question that it speeded up his release from prison in South Africa. There was the Special AKA did this song, Free Nelson Mandela, and I remember in Wembley Stadium in London, which is about, I think it was 60,000 people, all singing this, you know, 60,000 people singing this song, which went all around the world, and it absolutely brought focus on South Africa and the fact that Nelson Mandela should not be in jail. So this is an example of how music can change the world, if you like. So let's see if I can get this to do something. Oh, we haven't got any audio. Put more level.
Free, 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 Nelson Mandela.
Here we are, the Special AKA with Free Nelson Mandela. That changed the world, right, that song? Just shows you how powerful it is. Right, these are some of the things that I've done. I'm basically an artist manager, I suppose. I've got no qualifications whatsoever, by the way, no academic qualifications. I haven't got a degree, nothing. All I've got is, I guess, quite a lot of experience. I managed a band called Marillion. Anybody here like Marillion? Into Marillion? Yeah, there you go. It's interesting, I was talking to Mark Kelly from Marillion, and yes, on Tuesday I was with him in London, and he said that on their streaming statistics, you know, on the analytics on their streaming, the city with the most streams for Marillion is Santiago. Isn't that incredible? And they're a British band, they're big all over the world, but in Santiago they get more streams than anywhere else in the world. Anyway, I was their manager briefly in 1982, at the time they first got signed. I've managed a guy called Howard Jones, and he sold 8 million albums. Miriam Stockley, she sold 3 million. The Thompson Twins, Tom Bailey, 8 million. So yeah, I've been around around the block with the artist management thing. And then I also do all this other stuff as well. I'm a director of PPL, which is the second largest related rights collective management organisation in the world. And I'm very interested in SCD and what you're doing here with collective management. I also started a startup, a digital startup called 3DICD, which failed, completely failed, as all digital startups tend to do, or most of them. But it was a very interesting experience. Right. So, yeah, that's Marillion. That's me giving them some awards 2 years ago. I think they did one of their weekends here, didn't they? One of their whole weekends here. And I know they love Santiago. They absolutely love it. But I'm still really good friends with them, and I occasionally put them on as a promoter. That's Howard Jones. Like I say, I managed him for 32 years. We went from doing little pub gigs to headlining Madison Square Garden and everything in between. It's Miriam Stockley with Addie Amos. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Addie Amos, but she is the singer with Addie Amos. And that's Tom Bailey from the Thompson Twins, who I'm really looking after now. We're just about to start a 61-date tour of the USA next week, so I shall be on a tour bus for 61 days, which is going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to it. We're touring with the B-52s and Culture Club, playing about 5,000 or 6,000 people a night. That's what Tom Bailey looks like now. And here he is with Nile Rodgers last year at a festival in London. And here he is in Australia, where we were in December of this year, last year, sorry. And that was a great tour with Boy George and the Culture Club. And this is a book which I'll talk about later on. But that's Tom in the corner there, and that's Boy George. I don't know who the other person is. So yes, these are some of the bands that I was associated with as a promoter. I've been running this club for 49 years. It'll be our 50th anniversary next year. Don't ask me when I was born, but it was a long time ago. But I've been particularly involved with David Bowie, Genesis, the Ramones, U2, Lou Reed, etc., etc. Pink Floyd, even, as a promoter. Yeah, had a great time doing it. That's me with the Pink Floyd in 1969, again with Hair sitting down there. Yeah, in those days, you know, the promoter actually paid the band, you know, in money, with money. There wasn't a tour manager or a manager, you know, so I just paid the band all this money, you know, and somehow the local paper came in and took the photograph, but I'm very glad they did. That's David Bowie, when we put him on in the club that I've been running for, like I say, nearly 50 years. This was the Ziggy Stardust tour, actually. The first time he ever played Hunky Dory was at my club, and the first time he ever played Ziggy Stardust was there as well. And he came back again, and this is the end of the Ziggy Stardust tour. That's Genesis. Now the first time I put on Genesis, I paid them £10, and then £15, then £25, then £30, then £50. I was the first person ever to pay them £100, and Peter Gabriel came out on stage and shook my hand and told the audience that I paid him £100, which was quite embarrassing. But there you are. Again, this is the sort of shorter fat hair version. That's the contract, actually. That's the Genesis contract. You can see as me and Genesis £10, the fee there in the middle. Quite extraordinary, really. U2, that was Bono when he was much younger. Blondie, we put them on, 77 that is, I can see. There's Motorhead, put them on lots and lots of times. The Clash, you know, heavily involved with the Clash all through that punk era. And this is the venue we promote in now in my hometown, which is Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire, which is about 40 miles northwest of London. That's the queue for the Specials. Did the Specials ever play down here? Have they ever played down here? Yeah? Oh, good. They're very big in the UK still, always will be, I think. But that's the queue. You can see, you know, a lot of people just put tickets online and everybody gets on their computer, and we do that. But what we do is we have the first 4 hours, you have to actually stand in line. And there's such a vibe in the queue, you know, when you do that. So call me old-fashioned, but we have a period when tickets go on sale where they're only available if you turn up, and then they go online later in the day. This is the show itself, that particular show. That's the Specials on stage. Everybody having a great time. Believe it or not, you probably think crime's bad here, although I understand crime is quite good actually in Chile compared with other countries. But a gang came into this concert and stole 400 mobile phones in the audience. 400. It was just extraordinary. We'd never had anything happen like it before, and suddenly it was very, very organised, and you know, everybody was moshing here, and yeah, they got in there and they were taking everybody's phone, and they got away with it. That's the incredible thing. They got away with it. Anyway, never mind. Now, how do you pronounce this, Dimitar?
Nietzsche.
Thank you very much. Nietzsche, he's a very famous German philosopher and musician, right? And he famously said, without music, life would be a mistake. And that's absolutely right. I mean, if you can imagine your life without music, it would be very boring. And this is the copyright sign, so that if you create something, then you have the rights to what you create. If a young child, 5-year-old, does a painting at school, they own the copyright in that painting. Nobody else does, they do. And so that's the thing that protects things that you create. And the music industry is basically in two parts. You have the authors and publishers, this side, that's the songwriters, the arrangers, and the lyricists, people who write lyrics for songs. And on the other track, you have performers, people who play musical instruments and sing, and recordings, and of course record companies or phonogram producers, as we officially call them. So whenever you deal with music, you always have to think of the two parts of music. Whoever writes the song and publishers exploit it, or whoever performs on the recording and makes the recording and sells the recording. So every time you deal with any sort of licensing of music, you have to deal with both elements. So an artist is always a performer, by definition, but they may also be an author. They may also write their own songs. And as a manager, I need my artist to be writing, because you earn a lot more money if you get both income streams. So this is the difference. Now, you know, we'll talk about the history of this in a minute, but authors' rights are a lot older than performers' rights, so they're more developed than authors' rights. So you have you have songwriters, composers, lyricists and arrangers up here, and what we say is they create works, as we call them. And copyright protection for authors in this country, in Chile, is life plus 70. So if you died at the age of 80, your heirs, your children, your grandchildren would still be getting income for a further 70 years after your death. On the performer's side, it's 70 years from the first release of the recording. So when the recording was made available to the public, the protection is 70 years. So you can see it's a lot longer with authors than it is with performers. If you take Bernie Taupin here, he wrote the lyrics for all Elton John's songs. So he is a pure author. He doesn't record in the recording studio. He doesn't go out on tour. So he's not a performer. Lady Gaga is both an author and a performer. She writes her own songs and she goes out and does them. Same with Elton John. He writes the music to his songs, but not the lyrics. But he also obviously goes out on tour, so he is an author and a performer. Elvis Presley didn't really write anything, as far as I know, so he's a pure performer only. So here we go. So yes, let's have a look at this for a second. Oh, yes, that's right, sorry. Right, this is a vote in the audience. I just want to know if you think that authors' works and rights, or authors' works, are more important than performers' works. If you're going to have a hit record, is the songwriting more important than the actual performance on the recording, the way it's sung and the production on the recording? If you can only vote once, by the way, from these three things. So if you think that, you'd vote for the first one. Or maybe you think that the performance on the recording is more important than the songwriting, in which case you'd vote for the second one. Or it may be that you think they're both equally important, which is the third one. So if you can only vote once, okay? So the first one, who thinks that the songwriting is more important than the performance on the recording? Yes, there's 1, 2, 3, yes, there's a few. Yeah, I've got a few there, that's good. And who thinks the performance on the recording, the way it's sung, the way it's recorded and played, is more important than the songwriting? Do we have any here? No, we don't have anybody. Oh, yes, we do. We have one here. Good. I like that. Who thinks they're equally important? Yeah, that's great. Okay. Well, I think that's a typical result for this vote. The only exception I've ever had to this was in Brazil, where nearly everybody voted for the second one. So obviously in Brazil they have a completely different take on songwriting and performance. But generally around the world, the result is as we just had it just now. So yeah, if you actually these slides are the wrong. Oh no, sorry, the slides are the wrong way around. Here we go. Sorry. Right. So let's have a look at the industry then. Basically. This is what happened, and this was reflected in Sophia's presentation before. It's just a different way of slide. You know, 1999 was the last boom year for the music industry. After that, it all went horribly downhill. But as you can see, in 2015, it started to go back up, and it's going back up rapidly, mainly due to Spotify and Apple Music. And you know, we have definitely turned the tide. The tide has changed, and as I'll show you in a minute, it's going very well. But still, only 1.83% of the world is paying for streamed music. In other words, the monthly subscriptions around the world for Spotify or Apple Music or Deezer, only 1.83% of the world's population. So if we could double that, we'd double the size of the music industry. And that's totally doable, by the way, in the next 5 years. I think the music industry will be twice as big as it is now in the next 5 years. So the future is definitely bright. Now, that's reflected in this. This is the value of Universal Music Group. Universal Music Group are the biggest record company in the world. And they were valued in 2013 at $8.5 billion. In 2017, $22 billion. And this year, $40 billion. That reflects the turn of the tide in the music industry. It's becoming much, much better in every possible way. And heaven knows, I mean, I saw something recently where Apple was now worth, well, just about $1 trillion, Apple's worth, which is $1,000 billion, I think. Actually, $1 trillion is defined differently in the US to Europe. Ours is $1 million is $1 trillion, and in the US it's 1,000 million. Still, 1,000 billion, sorry, should I say, 1,000 billion is a lot of money. I mean, Apple could wipe out famine in Africa at a stroke, or should I say a swipe, if they wanted to. And that's what gets me about Apple. I love Apple. We've got Apple computers here, Apple iPhone. But, you know, what they could do with that money is just unbelievable. That's a huge amount of money. And this is interesting. This is vinyl. Obviously, the resurgence of vinyl. In 2006, it went down to a very low level indeed, but it's going up very rapidly now. And turntables are selling, and you know, the vinyl is absolutely back, which is great news, really. It might, you never know, it might overtake CDs at some point. Oh, we're back to that one. Actually, they're in strange order. So actually, this should have been earlier, but this is an example of what we were talking about before about the copyright protection. In that, if somebody wrote a song when they were 15, and they died at the age of 95. Their copyright in that song would last for 150 years, because it's 80 years from 15 to 95, plus 70 years, which is what the law says. So they'd have protection for 150 years. If you were a performer, you would only get it for 70 years. So that's twice as much, over twice as much. So that just shows you that there isn't equality out there in terms of authors' rights and performers' rights. Sometimes it's the other way around, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. If you're in the public domain, that means you're out of copyright. So any recordings before 1945 you can use at any time you like. Actually, in the UK, it goes back to 62. They've only taken it back to 1962. So if you wanted to release Love Me Do by the Beatles on your own record label in the UK, you could do. You could do that because it's out of copyright. You'd still have to pay for the songwriting, though. You'd still have to pay the Beatles for the songwriting because that's still in copyright. Also, the artwork on the single would also be in copyright. So it's just the recording that would go out of copyright and be in the public domain. And obviously, all the classical composers, Beethoven and Mozart, are in the public domain, and any orchestra can record Mozart or Beethoven, and they don't have to pay Beethoven or Mozart or their heirs anything. Right, so these are two fantastic laws that I'd like to see in every country in the world. In Germany, copyright cannot be assigned, that means transferred. It can only be licensed. So the copyright always stays with the creator. You know, they cannot assign it, they cannot sell it. It's always theirs, and all they can do is license it to somebody. Now, you could license it for life of copyright, which is very similar in principle to assigning or selling. But if you sold it to a record company, a recording to a record company, and the record company went bust, then it would come back to you. If you sold it or assigned it and the record company go bust, they will sell it to somebody else, or the liquidator will sell it to somebody else. So that's a great law. The only country to have it in the world is Germany. The other one is in the USA. Yes, copyright assignment or license is limited to 35 years. And that's a fantastic law too. And again, the USA is the only country that has that law. And it would be great to say, so, you know, if you did sell it when you were 20, then you'd get it back when you were 55. And that's when you'd need it, because that's when you need money later in your life, probably. So, mechanical licenses. A lot of people don't understand about mechanical licenses, but if you're going to do a cover of a song, say if you're going to do a cover of Adele's Hello, you'd have to get permission from Adele or whoever wrote it before you could do that. And I go to some countries and they don't, that whole is a foreign sort of concept. But you know, whoever wrote the song has to be paid. So if you're doing a cover of it, you have to go to Adele's publisher and do a license from that publisher. Or it might be a compulsory license if the law says that. But it's very important to understand about mechanical licenses. And SCD, I understand, administer mechanical licenses in this country. So moral rights. Moral rights, every creator has moral rights. The right of integrity, which means you can't do a remix or change a song without the author's permission. That's their moral right. The right of paternity is the right to be named as the author or as the performer. So those two are the moral rights. They're often waived in contract. You can say, I waive my moral rights. In other words, I promise not to enforce them. But it'd be great if that wasn't in contracts, really. So, Chile, these are the international treaties. Chile, the Berne Convention, 1986 was the first Berne Convention. You've signed that, you've signed the Rome Convention, you've signed TRIPS, which are under the WTO, and what we call the Internet treaties, the WCT and the WPPT. Chile's also signed up to that. And this is the Audiovisual Treaty, the Beijing Treaty for Audiovisual Performers, which apparently has been ratified, my understanding. It won't come into force unless 30 countries ratify it, and so far we're short by about 8, I think. So hopefully that'll come into play. I could talk to you for hours about the Audiovisual Treaty. Okay, so it's a very brief history of the music industry. The earliest records of anything musical were found in Iraq in 2000. They were made in 2000 BC, so 4,000 years ago, where they found some musical notation on a cuneiform tablet, on a stone tablet. It's quite ironic now that we've gone back to tablets with the iPad and Kindle, so we're coming full circle. It always comes around sometime. And then 1350, the Italian monks started writing down music in a written form. You had the first printed music in Germany, and then England came out with the first copyright law, which protects books, basically, in 1710. But everything changed in 1877. So, you know, authors' rights were already established. And the 1886 was the Berne Convention, which is the first international convention or treaty for authors' rights. But then this guy, Thomas Edison, came along in 1877 and managed to record sound using a wax cylinder. And then in 1887, Emil Berliner invented the gramophone with flat discs. And that really was the start of performers' rights. Up to that point, performers were in complete control of their rights. They either turned up to the gig and played, or they didn't. It's as simple as that. The only sort of performance was a live performance. As soon as you could record them, everything changed. I mean, everything changed. But you can see that authors' rights were way, way back, and this is when performers' rights started. So, yeah, then we go into the 78s and 45s. Stereo was introduced in 57. Then you get the first international treaty for performers and phonogram producers and broadcasters in 1961, which was the Rome Convention. as I said, the authors had their first treaty in 1886, so you can see there's 80 years difference between the two. And that's why performers and record companies' rights are still trying to catch up. If you talk about collective management organizations, there's about 230 authors CMOs in the world, and there's only 80 neighboring rights CMOs in the world, or performers or record companies CMOs. So you can see there's a long, long way to go. MTV was launched in 1981. Cassettes were introduced. Cassettes are coming back, aren't they? It's amazing. Bands in Britain now are releasing cassettes again. It's extraordinary. I never thought that would happen. And then compact discs came in 82. Of course, that was a big moment. And the internet was quietly launched in 1982, but nobody really noticed. And then we had the TRIPS agreement, which is a trade agreement which had lots of intellectual property rights in it, and the WCT and the WPPT, which were the WIPO internet treaties. Napster was launched there in 1999. And that changed everything too. Google came along in 2000. It's difficult to imagine that only 18 years ago there was no Google. There was no search engine you could go to. You had to go to the library, or you had to ask somebody or phone somebody up. Then iTunes came along, of course. Steve Jobs hijacked the music industry, basically. The music industry should have done that themselves, and they just were so untogether they couldn't. So he came along and did it for them. Then you had MySpace, Facebook, and YouTube all coming along in that period. iPhone was launched. Spotify came along in 2008. That's only 10 years ago. But this is all in the book when you get the book. So 2010, Apple launches its iPad, and various other developments. As you can see, the Beijing Treaty for Audiovisual Performances was agreed in 2012. So, what do we got here? Authors' rights, yeah. So what rights do authors have, songwriters, lyricists? They have a right of reproduction. In other words, you can't make records without their permission. The right of distribution, very close to reproduction. The right of rental, and the right of communication to the public. That means playing on the radio, or playing in shops, or hairdressers, or factories, or clubs. Every time your music is played in public, you should get paid. Every single time. So if it's on the radio, it's on television, it's in hairdressers, it's in a club, it's in a factory, you should get paid every single time. And there's, we're getting there with that, but there's a long way to go still. And this thing called making available is a law that came in with the WCT and the WPPT. It means it's the interactive right. So if the consumer can choose a piece of music themselves, then the making available right kicks in. And this has been really, really controversial, I have to tell you. And there's a lot of work going on the making available right, because basically, if the making available right exists, then the record companies, for example, will license directly with Spotify. It won't go through a CMO or collective management organization. So, there's a lot of campaigns going on at the moment to change that. And I could talk to you again for hours about it, but the right to translate and the moral rights, etc., they're all authors' rights. The rights of performers are similar: the right of reproduction, distribution, rental, again making available, and moral rights. And then phonogram producers also have their own set of rights. Interestingly, publishers do not have rights. Publishers rely on the author to assign the rights to them, whereas phonogram producers do have separate rights, and they have the right of making available, reproduction, distribution, etc. Publishers' income streams, as I say, rely on the author, so they'd be the same as the author. Manager, if you're a manager, you commission all income that the artist actually receives. So recording income, publishing income, income from broadcasting and public performance, that's the collective management organization income, income from live gigs, of course, TV and radio performances, sponsorship and branding, which are becoming more important now, and any other income from the entertainment industry the manager will commission. So, now this is the roadmap for collective management. It's very important. Do you understand this? I hope I've got this right for Chile. I think I have. But basically, sorry, let's catch up with this. Right. If anybody's out there who says I've got this wrong, please tell me. Basically, you have a collective management for communication to the public. So wherever music is played in public, in public places, like say hairdressers or shops or wherever, or on the radio or on television, the collective management organisation will generally collect license fees from those institutions. So from the shop, the hairdresser will have a license for a year, usually, at a certain rate, and then so will the broadcasters, the radio stations, and the television stations. And as we saw with the rail tracks earlier, there's money is paid down in two ways. On that side is the performers and record companies. On this side is the songwriters and publishers. So to a radio station, for example, will make two payments. One to the publisher, via the CMO probably, and one to the CMO that deals with the recordings and the performers. And SCD collect for the authors in this country, and they will then split that money, generally speaking, to a publisher, if there is one. Some authors don't have publishers, but it goes to the publisher and to the author, and the publisher may also pay money directly to the author. That's the general picture in the world of how it works. And if someone from SCD wants to tell me that's wrong here, please put your hand up. On the performers side, it goes to the Profovi, I don't know if you pronounce it like that. They deal with the record company side, and SCD actually deal with the performers side, which is quite interesting. Normally that's quite separate, these two, but SCD deal with both. They deal with the performers' rights and they deal with authors' rights. And then to the record company's part will go to PROFOVI, and on the performers' side it will go to SCD. SCD will then ideally pay out to the performers in two ways, and I'm not quite sure if that happens here, but there's the featured performers, in other words the performers mentioned on the recording, and then the non-featured performers who are like session players, like if you brought a trumpet player in to play on a recording or a string quartet, they would be what we call session players or non-featured performers. And like I say, I'm a director of PPL in the UK. We've got some non-featured performers that are lucky enough to have played on hits, who get an awful lot of money from public performance. And it's not unusual for a non-featured performer to earn, I don't know, $150,000 US a year just from past sessions that they've done, and also on the featured side. So that's how collective management should work, and it should work worldwide. So SCD should hopefully in the future will have reciprocal agreements with every country in the world, so that Chile, a performer in Chile or an author in Chile will get paid every time their music is played in other countries. Similarly, say British or American music, if that's played in Chile, then they will get paid from Chile, which isn't happening at the moment. But that's the roadmap for collective management, and I think we're going to hear a lot more about that this afternoon in the collective management session. Right, so don't assign, always license. That's my motto. If you're an artist and you're doing a record deal or a publishing deal, don't sell it, don't assign it, but ask for a license. And it's for the same reason I said before, that, you know, if the record company or the publisher goes bust, then you get it back if it's a license. If you've assigned it or sold it, then you'll never get it back. They will sell it to the highest bidder if they go under. So I'd like to see that everywhere in the world. It's an important thing, and it shouldn't make any difference to the other side, because a license for life of copyright is the same as selling it, really, but you retain ownership. So this is the shift of income streams. More important is live music. Live has never been more important. Artists are going back out on the road in later life, you know, because there's so much money in live music, playing live. Synchronization and master reuse. A synchronization license is when an author who's written a song licenses it into television or film or advertising or video games. So that's what we call a synchronization license. On the recording side, other side of the tracks, you get a master reuse license, which is the same really, but we call it a master reuse license. And that's when the recording gets put into a film or a television production, advertising or video game. So that's becoming more important, certainly audiovisual uses of music. Public performance, that's what we've been talking about with the CMOs, and that again is becoming more important, and likewise on the recording side with the phonogram producers and performers. Merchandising is becoming more important. That's selling T-shirts and caps and things at shows. That's becoming a much more interesting and larger income stream. And branding, that's when you actually get into a TV ad and sell a brand on behalf of a brand, is also on the rise. In fact, I think I'll show you an example tomorrow. Beyoncé earns far more from branding than she does from selling recordings. Streaming, of course, we know is the big growth area. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and Deezer. YouTube, of course, is out on its own when it comes to streaming, in as much they pay far less than the other services. And we'll talk about that tomorrow, which is something called the value gap, where YouTube operate under the umbrella of the safe harbor. In other words, you can't sue YouTube if they put up something that is illegal, but you can tell them to take it down. And that's what the safe harbor laws around the world say, that they can, if they, an uploader puts music on YouTube, they will leave it there until whoever owns the copyright in that music tells them to take it down. Whereas Spotify and Apple Music have to do a hard license. There's none of that safe harbor business with them. It's a proper commercial license. Whereas YouTube, like I say, the income that we get from YouTube is so low compared with Spotify and Apple Music. And there's a lot of campaigning going on to change the safe harbor laws around the world at the moment. Right, so where do we go from here? Oh, have a look at these stats. This is interesting. This is Chile. Chile is the 33rd biggest market in the world for music. In synchronization, it's the 16th. So that's getting music into video games and advertising and film and TV productions. Performance rights, it's 33rd. That's the SCD and the side of things. The digital, that's streaming and iTunes, I guess, is 34th. And physical, which of course is CDs and vinyl, you're 37th. And this pie chart is very revealing, because 58% is digital. That's quite a typical pie chart, actually, for the world. 11% is CDs, 3% is the synchronization, and 28% is the performance rights, that's CD, etc. So that's the picture. And the general picture is that South America is doing very, very well at the moment compared with the rest of the world. Your growth is much stronger. I think it was 17% in Chile last year. The music industry went up. That's a fantastic figure. And everybody's focused on South America at the moment as a fantastic example of growth in the music industry. So just compare it with Peru. Peru is 46, and you can see the difference there. The 63% digital, and look how tiny the CD market is. That's you there, 11%. Look how tiny it is in Peru. It's just, I don't know, it's completely died, I think, the CD market. And also synchronization is very low too. Their performance rights are holding up quite well. This is Argentina, 20th biggest market in the world. That's, again, a more typical pie chart, with the physical being 8%, digital 31%, and performing rights, though, is massive. Actually, that's not typical. Performing rights is massive, and that's because, well, they've got very good licensing in Argentina, very good tariffs, and very thorough licensing, but they don't share that with anybody else in the world. There's no reciprocal agreements that I'm aware of, except for possibly within South America. And I know PPL in the UK is talking to Argentina at length at the moment about that, but you can see their performance rights are incredible. This is Brazil, 9th biggest market in the world. Again, 60% digital, 34% performance rights. This is the UK. So you can see physical is still quite big in the UK. So CDs, the CD market is still pretty good, strong. 50% digital and 18% performance rights. That's PPL, who I'm a director of, and Sync is quite small at 2%. It's the number 4 market in the world. Japan is the 2nd market in the world, and this is how eccentric is this? You know, CDs 72% still in Japan, and vinyl. I mean, just extraordinary. I mean, digital really hasn't got a hold there much yet. It's 21% digital, very little performance rights. They don't have a public performance rights in buildings there, as the US doesn't either. The US is completely eccentric when it comes to copyright law. Synchronization is very small, but that physical percentage there is extraordinary. And as you can see, they're the number 1 physical country in the world there. And that's the USA, which is the biggest music market in the world. 75% digital, so America's absolutely rocketing away with digital. 15% CD still. Very low on the performance rights, and that's because Sound Exchange, which is the CMO in the USA, there's no right for terrestrial radio in the USA. This is only on the recording side, by the way. All these charts are just recordings and nothing to do with authors' rights. But the law in the USA is that they took a reservation on Article 15 of the WPPT, which means that they are not, in their law, that radio stations do not have to pay performers or record companies. They have to pay authors through ASCAP and BMI, but they do not pay performers or record companies. And there's been an ongoing campaign for a very long time to get that changed. Certainly people like Ed Sheeran, you know, for example, on the radio all the time in America, never gets a penny because they don't pay performers. It's as simple as that. And that's why the 7% there is so small compared with the other markets we've looked at. It's extraordinary. But having said that, the money they do collect from digital, because they've got a right in digital, so if you're on the internet with music in the USA, you do have to pay, but if you're on terrestrial radio, you don't have to pay. So just from the digital rights, they're still number 1 on performance rights in terms of how much money they collect, because because it's such a massive market. But as a percentage of the whole, it's only 7%. Oh, no, that's my dog. This is my puppy. It's called, well, I say my, it's the new family puppy called Finn. And this is when he first discovered snow. I guess he was about 2 months old there. And so, you know, we got together an Instagram page for him, and he's now got 1,700 followers on Instagram, which is incredible. There you go. And that's how big he is now. But that's only after he's now 6 months old. But 1,700 Instagram followers. Finn the Border Collie pup, if you want to check that out. Anyway, that's the end of this presentation, and thank you very much for listening. I don't know how far over we went, a little bit. But thank you very much, and I'll be back at 2 o'clock.
Bien. Muchas gracias, David. Hemos disfrutado mucho con la intervención y ahora los dejamos libres un rato para el almuerzo, por favor. Hay que estar de vuelta a las 13:45. Por favor. Muchas gracias. Okay.